Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Championship Check-In podcast. Sam, we are sandwiched between 3 game weeks, so we haven't got your kind of general view on the league in between all the kind of prediction shows we've had to do. Let me say hello and start with a bold premise that it is Coventry plus one of 23 other teams for automatic promotion this season.
You all in, are you?
I just the way I'm looking at it right now, I'm seeing them as being head and shoulders. Look, obviously it's easy to say with an unbeaten run and a winning streak. They just look the best set for promotion clearly right now. And what else? Well, we can discuss it. What
Yeah.
else is gonna stop them really?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've been doing my utmost this morning. I had about half an hour just to have a look at some numbers and do my utmost to make a case for someone else, probably one of the chasers currently, the ones in close proximity. But it's just even like all the numbers, isn't it, that back up their supremacy at the moment. So, yeah, and I think just the back end of last season, I don't know Frank Lampard, but obviously I know one of his staff members pretty well, and I've had dealings with Joe Edwards. We've got mutual friends, so I know those guys, and I just think that it all fits perfectly where they were in their careers. Obviously, they've been. I think Chris Jones and Joe Edwards were working with the national team in that little period they had out of the game. Joe had a little taste at Millwall. Obviously, Lampard deserves huge credit for wanting, I think, first and foremost, to go and graft in the Championship. And it's a brilliant job, Commentary. But a lot of the top boys can do whatever they please with their careers post football. So he clearly loves it. It's clear that the squad are really happy, and I just think for those guys, what I'm trying to get to is that trio that I just mentioned. I know there's other people involved, but that trio to take Coventry potentially into the Premier League, I think that's a mouth-watering prospect for them, and also, to build with a club who for so many years were in the Premier League, a great club in this country. The sky's the limit, really, isn't it? You could feel and you could see Coventry going up into the Premier League and having a season where they shock. That's kind of, I think, the potential, because it's so well supported, and it's been so long now. I wouldn't be able to tell you how many years it's been since they've been in the top flight. But yeah, so I just think at the moment with the owner as well, and everything that's going on with the ground or has gone on with the ground and what have you, to finally have cohesion, to finally have solid ground. It does feel like this is something special that's happening.
Let's try and reverse engineer the question. What would it look like for them to cock it up? Look, I know we're a quarter of the way through, and it's 28 points on the board, but you'd be looking at a couple of bad results turning into maybe not, maybe like one win in 6 or one win in 7, which is kind of Leicester City are on one win in 8 or something at the moment. We don't want to see people get hurt, but probably be an injury to, I don't know, maybe the goalie, maybe Grimes. I'm trying to think. They've got so many players
Sure.
playing well. I've just seen teams, Sam, front load Bilic's West Brom, Parker's Bournemouth, front load the season with tons of points, and the margin for error just grows, doesn't it, thereafter?
Do you know what? The point on Grimes that you just made is a really good one, and Rushworth.
He's the captain now, Grimes, is he? As well, I think.
I said it when he went there, and obviously this is because I spent a year with him as a young player, and I don't want to pretend that he was the reason that I retired. But there was a particular day on the training ground when I wanted to kick him and I couldn't get anywhere near him. He was very confident, a little bit cocky maybe as a young lad, but you need that. And he was streets ahead of, I'd go as far to say he's probably streets ahead of any other young footballer. Maybe I'd put John McGinn alongside him at St Mirren that year that he broke through. But probably since I was at Chelsea, maybe as a kid, he's one of the best I've seen, Grimes. And I
Wow.
couldn't get near him. And it was kind of that realization that it was time for me to step aside because I wasn't the player that I had been in my my mid-20s, and my best days were numbered. And I'm really surprised he's not playing now in the Premier League. And I always thought he's one that would grow to be a Premier League player. And maybe it's going to happen organically now, getting promoted with a side. But my point being, to go back to what you just said, if you play Matt Grimes in your team, you have to play a certain way and everything has to go through him. Otherwise, it's a waste of time. He is a conductor. He is someone who will take the ball under pressure. He's someone that will help you probe if you're playing against teams that are deep and giving up the ball and trying to frustrate. So I think he's a brilliant player. I would love to see if he got into the Premier League and maybe has those 4 or 5 years in the Premier League that I believe his ability deserves. So yeah, if they lost him, that would probably be more damaging than maybe losing Hadji Wright or Thomas Asante. And that's a rarity, isn't it? Because normally you just look straight towards the goal scorers who have combined for 17 goals so far.
Silly.
So yeah, no, that great point. And the goalkeeper obviously was a problem back end of last year. Such an ongoing conversation it felt for 2-3 months, whether it should be Brad Collins or Wilson, I think it was.
They brought Dobbin in, and then he got hurt as well at the end before the playoff run, didn't he?
And we had this kind of, what did we have? We had Brad Collins obviously would have a relationship with some of those ex-Chelsea staff members. And you had Wilson, who had played maybe in the semi or the playoff final. They both played big games, and there was arguments for and against. And I think for their chance of success, they had to get an upgrade this season. And at the moment,
well, Sam, sorry to interrupt, mate, but there's your point on Frank. If you're Brighton and you've got a goalkeeper to loan out, and Lampard turns around and points to 2018-19, and Wilson, Tomori, Mount. There was one more who I'm forgetting. I think they had 4.
Harry Wilson, did you get? Did you say
I mentioned Wilson.
Sorry, yeah.
But everyone will say in the comments the one we're forgetting. But yeah, he's a good manager to loan players to, isn't he?
Yeah, and I suppose jumping ahead, if the worst was to happen and they'd lose a few of their talisman, January will be interesting if they're in that position to go and reinforce. I don't know exactly what the position is in terms of finances there, but, yeah, absolutely. I'd second what you say there. And I tried to articulate this yesterday when I was talking about the top of the table, and I don't think I did a particularly good job. But
do a better job now then.
Do you know what, Ben? While they're on it right now, and this is not to disrespect Millwall or Bristol City and the like, Stoke, ramp home your superiority now.
That's exactly what I was saying.
To make that cushion over your mob, Ipswich, Leicester, Southampton. Who else will you want to throw in there? West Brom, maybe off the top of my head. Thump it home now and get that distance so great that even if Leicester sort their house out, it's insurmountable. That's got to be the message, hasn't it? Really, when they're
mate, you're so right about that, because we've. I remember covering the season Forest went on the mad run, and the Forest fans are saying to me, "Oh, come on, Ben, we can do top 2." And I'm saying, be careful. You have got no margin for error. None at all. You have to be 2+ points per game the whole season. So, do you remember Southampton went 23 unbeaten in that season? They went up and in the playoffs. And the Saints fans said, can we make top 2? And again, you're playing brilliantly, but you've got no margin for error. So you're so right, Sam. It's not necessarily the points that Coventry accrue. It's what they then are asking the other teams to do. Speaking of the other teams... and I don't want to disrespect Middlesbrough by not putting them in the automatic conversation because they're on 2 points per game. But we'll bring them all into the playoff conversation. And Sam, I mean, this is ludicrous because we could, and we can't do it because we haven't got time. We could talk about 15+ teams for a playoff spot. I'm not just saying it because I'm looking at the league table in this way, but Middlesbrough look an absolute certainty to be in the top 6 to me, in terms, which then puts them in the automatic place. Then I look at Millwall, Bristol City, Stoke, Charlton, Preston, Hull, QPR, all the way down to Leicester, they're in 10th. West Brom, Ipswich makes up the top half. I could have any of those in or out of the playoffs. Millwall just look a little bit. Sorry, excuse me. Middlesbrough just look a bit steadier. I can't really see Middlesbrough dropping out of the top 6, whereas I could see Millwall finishing anywhere between 2nd and 12th, and same with like Bristol City and Stoke. So it's a hard conversation about the playoffs at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I think I really enjoyed watching Middlesbrough play against Ipswich, and I think they are the real deal. I think obviously they're stronger probably defensively in terms of numbers in comparison to their attacking output, which of course can change. And he's working with a lot of new players. They kind of got 6 players for that front 4, and he's not maybe consistently putting the same 4 out there. So I think whether that will continue, we'll have to wait and see. Or maybe when Sene, Strelic, Whittaker's obviously got his goal now, and probably you can hope that he's going to go on a little bit of a run. Whether he'll start to find a formula which he sticks with, which may yield more opportunities and more goals, we'll have to wait and see. But I think it's a really organised team. He's shown, and maybe at Luton, because his hand was forced a little bit in what he inherited, he stuck with a formation and a style and a system. I think he's changed from a back 3 where Ayling was doing a pretty steady job at right centre half to a back 4 all of a sudden, and the results haven't suffered. As I know,
they look like they've got both down. They can do one for 60 minutes and one for 30 minutes, which is great trick, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think I think that he's been adaptable. I think Adi Vibash's assistant, Coventry were. I always say I think Coventry have kind of, for a period, League One maybe during that season, a bit kind of the trendsetters in formations. Remember that box midfield that we talked of for years. I think in the lower divisions, if you like, the lower 2 divisions, Coventry were the first to adopt that and really dominate the centre of the pitch and just have Godden knocking in the goals and all these kind of diminutive players, Callum O'Hare and the like around him. So I think with Adi Vibash alongside Rob Edwards now, he'll have the tactical ability to change. And I looked at a few numbers, and I don't want to disparage what they've done, and I don't want to make the comparison with Coventry, because what Coventry are doing is something that we've never seen before in terms of the goal scoring. But 5 of Middlesbrough's 7 wins by the odd goal, 1 of 8 Coventry's wins by the odd goal. So they've been involved in a lot of tight games, and I think that doubles down.
That did for Sheffield United last year, didn't we? Yeah. We were saying towards the end of the season, they won. That was like 15, 16, 17 single goal wins. So it's a fair point to make.
Yeah, but I think, Middlesbrough will have more of the ball and will be probing a lot more than Sheffield United, who are quite happy to sit in and spring. Because Hackney and Morris for 2, and there's other players, lovely footballers, so they can dominate, they can prize teams open. But I think that more than emphasises that they're not at the moment, getting the goals, not in comparison to Coventry, but they're not getting a bucket load of goals. They're winning tight games. I think that just doubles down that defensively they're really, really good. I love the 2 fullbacks, Target on the left, and
that's been a really good signing, Target, hasn't it?
And Britton on the right. They're solid. The goalkeeper actually surprised me, because I remember him being at Swindon on loan quite a few seasons ago now, and I wasn't sure he was going to be top Championship. So he's doing brilliantly well. Had that penalty save in the Ipswich game the other day. So yeah, I enjoy watching them. I think there's a confidence about them. They're clearly very organised. They're aggressive. I thought they were incredibly quick out the blocks in that game I've referenced a few times. So yeah, Coventry are looking, like there's room. Middlesbrough, sorry, like there's room for improvement, but a really, really good side.
Sam, can I make a general point? Because as we say, we want to mention all your teams, Preston, Hull, QPR, etc., going down that far. Is it a season for defences on top, where if you've got... Because I'm looking at the top of the table, and you mentioned no one's conceded fewer goals than Middlesbrough. Excuse me. Stoke have conceded the same amount of goals, and I know there's been a lot of draws, and we've talked about pragmatism. And then I see Nathan Jones, Struber, Alex Neil, and then just outside the playoffs, I see Preston. Hull are a bit of an outlier, and Marty Cifuentes down in 10th has been a bit defensive. Do you wonder whether, if you're a team that's pretty good defensively, draws might not be that disastrous, you probably can get 5th or 6th place here. Whereas top 2 is always decided by the teams that can go and win lots of games and score lots of goals. I wonder whether it just might be defences on top this season.
Yeah, I mean, there's people better placed than me, probably that pour over the numbers and what have you, number crunch. But I think, that pragmatism, being very, very organised from attacking and defending set pieces is the order of the day at the moment. And, some of the teams, if you get it right without the ball, Charlton and Millwall will immediately spring to mind. Preston have always been that. I think you've been waiting for Preston to have a little bit more of a catalyst going the other way. But absolutely. I suppose the challenge for those clubs is when winter sets in and injuries, suspensions, whether the depth can carry you through. I'll give you an example. I watched the whole City team dominate Leicester for 45 minutes last Tuesday, yet when Leicester can impact things, when Marty Cifuentes can impact things from the bench and fatigue sets in and the replacements for the slightly inferior squad don't kind of come onto the pitch and immediately give you that boost to get over the line, it's a bit more jeopardy in the games. And I think that's where the bigger squads will ultimately start to improve. And I think that's the challenge. Like, if Nathan Jones suffers 2 or 3 injuries to important players at Charlton, will they be able to maintain this form? I think there's probably 1 or 2 examples over the time that I've been covering the Championship since I've retired of teams that have been able to maintain it and have that against all odds attitude and continue to be the party poopers all the way to the spring and get themselves into the playoffs. But I think that's the reality of what will maybe happen with the relegated sides and some of the sides with the more depth to their squads. But be an incredible start. And yeah, I mean, Millwall, to kind of contradict myself a little bit, great to see, I think, a little bit more variety in their play. Obviously, a little bit more excitement in the forward positions. Aziz is the current best player in the division on statistics, isn't he? 4 in 4 and assists chucked in there as well. He's been superb. And seeing Masu Saka, what's his name? I didn't written down. Masu Sako, yeah, I should have gone with my instinct. With Denor, I've always kind of bemoaned that lack of control that Millwall have in games. I think they've potentially got that now. And Ballo on the left, Aziz on the right, Coburn to come back in with Ivanovic. They've got some decent attacking players now to go along with what will always be a very, very solid back 5 and a manager who's great setting up his team without the ball.
There you go. So it's a very wide open conversation about playoffs right now. And I know people will say, oh, it always is. But we normally have a little bit more of an idea. And we won't labour on the parachute teams this week because we always talk about them. But with every week that goes by with Ipswich, Leicester, Southampton not convincing and Sheffield United sorting out their issues, the door opens wider for QPR, Hull, Preston, Charlton, Stoke, Bristol City, Millwall, names that we didn't expect necessarily to be as solidly in the playoff picture. Right, Sam, let's talk about relegation because this is weird. I think the first thing we can say since you and I last spoke is even though we were 99 out of 100 certain that Sheffield Wednesday would be one of the 3 to drop, obviously administration and -12 kind of kills all of that now, and there are bigger things to worry about in terms of Sheffield Wednesday, but it looks like we're getting some good news about prospective buyers. They've just got to get the right one. So we're almost now, it's completely a conversation about 2 relegation places. The problem I've got, Sam, is, and I know there's always an expectation with teams at the bottom that they're going to climb out, but there's really an expectation that most of these teams are going to think they're going to move up, i.e. Norwich, Sheffield United and Southampton are 1, 2, 3, 4 of the bottom 6 at the moment. Where are you generally looking in terms of relegation? And assuming it is 2 places, given you've got your kind of 3 clubs down there, 2 parachute teams, and Norwich just having a train wreck of a season. Where are you looking at, given the expectation that 3 of them will move, but will one of them get caught?
I think this is a tougher subject to broach this morning than the automatic promotion, playoffs. I mean, you wouldn't hang your hat on anyone, would you, outside of Sheffield Wednesday? And I spoke to a Sheffield Wednesday supporter yesterday from the trust who was, I don't think bullish is the right word, but certainly there was a determination that with a now fullish Hillsborough and some players that are going to be of a better mindset than they would have been in the last couple of months, that they can rally, which would be surprising. He did, and I think it's echoed when you look at their 11. That's okay, but it's the point I made a few moments ago, and the reality is it doesn't even need injuries. You look at the bench, you're calling upon players probably with zero or to next to nothing championship experience. So that's where their issue lies. And if they were to lose a Bannon, a Valerie, a Palmer, a Jamal Lowe, some of the experienced boys they've got, they're not going to be able to replace them. So that's the biggest issue. They may very well win some games. Again, sorry if I'm a broken record, but going back to my time at Luton, we were minus 30. Oh. We won the first 2 games of the season, and I don't think we were in positive points. I was off at Leyton Orient on loan, but I don't think we were in positive numbers till around Christmas time. So that...
Well, and Sam, it's, where are we? October 28th, day of recording. So if it takes another 3 weeks to get 6 points, then, well, there's an international break as well, isn't there? Then you could be mid-November at 0 points, couldn't you? And you're looking at 45, 46, 47 or whatever. It's just impossible, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think going to be incredibly tricky for them. But yeah, I mean, we should mention, shouldn't we, while we're doing it, like just incredible scenes, really. And never has an administration been met with almost kind of glee, which just shows you the strife and the trouble that they've been in. Amazing, because probably right up there is one of my favourite places I've ever been to play football, Hillsborough. Just massive stands and huge history. So yeah, great that there's optimism that a takeover is forthcoming and that everything's going to be all right. Even if they drop to League One, they've been there recently. And, I remember playing against Sheffield Wednesday in League One. The punters will all be there, packing out that place, home and away, and they'll get back to where they should be in a few years, I'm sure. I don't know, like the rest of the teams down there, I suppose Blackburn, even in victory over Southampton, a couple of maiden goals for Good Johnson and the right wing back, Eli Biusu, a little bit fortunate. I think if one of Armstrong's chances goes in and it goes 2-0, I think Southampton probably win that game. So I think, out of all the teams that are down there that are jostling for position, they would be the ones that I would be a bit concerned about. The teams with, I suppose, real championship and above Premier League pedigree. You'd have to think that Norwich are going to sort their issues out. I think...
Can I just come in on that, Sam? I think if you're putting it down to Norwich, Sheffield United and Southampton in terms of could one of them have the horror show and get caught, you just look at Sheffield United and Southampton being parachute teams as just having the power there. For Norwich to go down, if you'd said to me, Sam, at the start of the season, what will it take for Norwich to go down? I'd be going through my list of, right, they need 3 managers during the season. So there's almost the case, Sam, that they would have to sack Liam Manning and then get it wrong again with the next manager and then sack them to still be in, or do what Luton did where it kind of felt like they went way too long before they made the change, and
Yeah.
then the rot had kind of set in. But I can't see it being Norwich. It's got to be three teams, but I can even less see it being Sheffield United and Southampton. But I never thought it would be Luton, so it
No,
could be Norwich.
I think you're bang on there. If Liam Manning doesn't work out, and I ideally hope it does, because I thought he worked wonders last year at Bristol City. I'm not even sure with what he had at his disposal going into kind of the spring that he would have felt it was achievable to get into the playoffs. So I think that was an incredible job. Well done from him last year. So I hope he gets that time. But obviously, I think that the performances don't matter anymore for them. They just need a result by hook or crook, probably just to alleviate a bit of pressure and give him a little bit of time, probably even back-to-back results. So, yeah, if he is replaced, then it'll be about that next appointment. And where am I with them? I think it's always hugely risky to take a number of players from different leagues all over one summer. But I will caveat and say they brought in Jeffrey Schlupp and Harry Darling, and the goalkeeper's quite experienced. One of the centre-halves is quite experienced. These aren't all kids either. So
No.
I don't think that can be mitigation. They're too young, don't know the league. Because I think there are some experienced boys there who should be doing better. And it's actually McArmer from Lincoln, I think, who's
he's
actually
playing well, isn't he? Yeah.
chipped in with a few goals. So I think they will, in one way or another, rise up the table. But whether that's going to be under Liam Manning or not, we'll have to wait and see. Sheffield United, I think, have shown even in the three games most recent under Wilder, should have had something at Preston, 2 goals to the good. That'll damage them in the short term. But obviously the reality is they won games back to back and they're going to be climbing the table. And I think with Southampton, I think that, listen, that they're not playing well and supporters are unhappy, rightly so, massively supported club. But I think he was held in such high esteem and so many clubs were looking at Will Steele. I just think that they'll persevere. I just think that he could walk into another club
Get left with egg on their face, right? Yeah,
doesn't have the scars and the damage, maybe, and the players that are still recovering from Premier League relegation, supporters as well, a more happy camp, and immediately get a tune.
Sam, can I just ask one question? I'm sorry to interrupt you, mate. Just about his demeanour, though, because I know we've flipped from these charismatic alpha male type football managers, Mick McCarthy's and Neil Warnock's, who can command an entire room just with their personalities. And I'm seeing Will still kind of being like awkward in the interviews and biting his hand and looking away. And I'm not seeing a leader as we know it. I'm sure those were the types of fellas that were managing you, the strong, powerful alpha male type. And I don't know. I just wonder how that, particularly to the fan base, that's not going to... They're going to want to hear stuff that they can buy. What do you just think of his demeanour at the moment?
It's not his strong suit, is it? But his strong suit seems to be the relationships with the players. Former lads that have worked for him seem to really embrace him warmly. His strength's going to be on the training ground, his coaching in the office, when he's setting up tactically with his staff. That's clearly going to be his strong suit. And I think every time you're put in front of the media, that was really tricky the other day after that defeat at Blackburn. And I think he's right, because the numbers, I don't think he's completely right, but I think they're creating so many chances, in every metric. They are and passing up so many big chances and what have you. So they should have more points. But there is a flakiness to their defending. So if you're not scoring, putting games to bed, then
you just described Middlesbrough under Carrick, by the way, Sam.
But by hook or crook, you need to get it right defensively. That has to be, that's the frustration of the supporters, isn't it? Right, we know that we're not on it completely. Armstrong's not completely on it. Stewart's out now. We're not converting our territory into goals. Then by hook or crook, we keep a clean sheet. and we don't concede in the manner that we are consistently. But no, I think that was a really difficult interview for him, and I think that not only are you speaking to the interviewer, or I think it was Neil Mellor, bizarrely.
Oh, really?
That clip that I've seen,
Liverpool
yeah.
strike,
But I
yeah,
think
right.
sometimes you double up, don't you? If you're doing the Soccer Saturday bit, you'll go down and do the post match. So I think that he's not only speaking to him, he's not only speaking to the supporters, but you're speaking to the lads and you're speaking to the ownership. So
Your bosses, yeah, right.
It's
yeah,
like
got it,
it's
yeah.
horrible. And some of my most charismatic mates, you know, are quite straight when they talk to reporters after games, because you're talking to everyone and it's a big part of it now. So yeah, maybe he could have been a little bit more forceful or whatever on reflection, but I think that's his character. And I think you have to remember that, he says something out of turn there, then he's getting a phone call from the big boss, isn't he, the next morning and saying, we can't really have that. So you got to play it with a straight bat, unfortunately.
You do. Sam, we could go on for ages and ages, but we've got some predictions to do. So we'll call it quits there for the Championship Check-In podcast. Great to hear your views. So much to talk about and so much uncertainty. Take that as a good thing, that we're not talking with any level of certainty other than really Coventry and Sheffield Wednesday 1 and 24, which is kind of helpful and kind of stating the bleeding obvious at the moment. Get your views in the comments, guys, on what I've had to say and what Sam has had to say about Championship Top 2, Championship Top 6, and down at the bottom. And we'll see you tomorrow for the predictions.